I don't shoot film that often, but when I do, it's mostly for family album. Before, I would use my little awesome Ricoh GR10, but when the pool season came in this year, I started looking for some waterproof camera. And you know, there are a few waterproof point and shoots out there, but most end up too bulky like Fuji Work Record, or too crappy like Minolta Weathermatic. Luckily, there's something in between that I've been hunting for some time actually. It's the Konica 28WB Eco or Konica Genba Kantoku. It's a long-running series of rugged cameras for heavy-duty use in harsh construction environments. I got mine for a little over $100 in great shape, and I've already shot the first few rolls with it, so today I'm gonna share my experience and tell you more about this interesting cam. What's up everyone, it's Aperture Value and today is the film camera day. But even though I mainly shoot digital, film cameras are just something of pleasant breakaway from routine, not to mention that some of the cameras from film era are one of a kind that don't get digital counterparts today. In case of rugged cameras, it seems like nowadays waterproof cases for cameras are more common than the actual rugged bodies. I think the last decent everything-proof camera was Leica XU. All the other ones like smaller amateur TOF series point and shoots with tiny sensors kind of died out because of
rigorous testing and refining have helped create a durable, dust, and water-resistant iPhone.
But on the film camera market back in the day, there were a couple of pro-grade cameras that could withstand rain and sand. Here is where Konica came into play. They made a weather-resistant camera series based on their late 90s MR cameras. They were given name Genba Kantoku, which literally means site supervisor. They were sold only in Japan, so that explains why it's kind of rare outside of Asia and why it doesn't have a proper English name. On the internet, people would just call it Genba Kantoku or Konica 28WB, even though not all of them are labeled 28 because of the lens. And even in Japan, it wasn't marketed for general public. It was only sold to construction workers. I suppose you had to present your license in order to purchase one at the time. The original manual also mainly portrays construction site workers and relevant shooting scenarios on the site. The first Genba Kantoku was introduced in September 1988, one with 40mm f3.5 fixed lens and a double D version with twin lenses of 40 and 60mm. They both got a rating of 4 according to Japan industrial standards for waterproofing, which basically means splash proof. Over the course of the next decade, they would improve designs and lenses. They would basically offer 28 and 35mm lens options, with the exception of a 28 to 56 zoom model introduced in '96. The protection rating moved up to GIS 7, which corresponds to IPX 7 international rating. The last versions were introduced in August 2001. You can recognize those by eco labels in front and at the top. This is the one I got for myself. It's in good shape. I checked the rubber gaskets everywhere, but I wouldn't try to test this 20-year-old film camera for water protection rating. Although I definitely feel more confident using it around the pool, during rain or whatever, and since it's also shock and sand and dust proof, I don't mind tossing it around at all. The later versions came in interesting colors like light gray, dark blue, olive green and bright orange, just like mine. There's also a dark orange, almost red, but they are quite rare to find. I love the color, it adds to fun shooting with it. It's not overly big and feels much lighter than you might think. It weighs 350 grams and is perfect for the size, I would say. The grip is nice and it even has extra grip piece on the left side. Manual warmly encourages you to hold it with both hands for better results, just like the sign above the road bar toilet. The buttons and markings are made in English, which is a pleasant surprise considering that it was supposed to be sold just in Japan. The only Japanese marking you can find on the outside is the Genba Kantoku name of the camera, right above the seal the name tag of the owner. Exterior is mostly made of plastic and rubber, but both are quite thick and feel very sturdy. The shutter button is easy to find by touch and gives you a nice tactile feeling. The power and mode buttons look small, but they are sensitive enough so you won't struggle with them. As for the specs, it takes 2 CR5 batteries, has a big flash unit and a nice clear viewfinder. It sports a 28mm f3.5 lens, 5 elements in 5 groups, which can focus down to 0.5 meters. The shutter speeds range from 1/4 to 1/280 of a second. It has automatic wind, rewind, and I was able to squeeze 37 frames out of a standard roll. A great thing about this camera is that unlike most point and shoots, it has total control of the flash. It's an automatic by default when you turn on the camera, but you can force it on or off with the mode button. It's very handy to be able to do that. I use it on my GR10 all the time according to my needs. Originally, there was a small remote shutter release that came with a camera, which I don't have, but it's okay since there's also a self-timer option in the modes. The one thing I kind of miss is the date imprinting. Some of these cameras came with a date back. I was hoping to find a camera with that back, but I found out that the calendar there is limited to 2019. Apparently, Japanese thought that the world wouldn't last past 2019. They weren't far off from the truth. Since the camera is basically tight-sealed everywhere, the viewfinder and the lens are completely dust-free and clean, and it also signs that presumably there was no repair work done. As for performance, it doesn't disappoint. The 28mm lens is plenty sharp. I would say it looks sharper than Ricoh's famous 28mm lens. It doesn't vignette as much as you would expect from a compact wide-angle optical design. I haven't tried to shoot more expensive film stocks like Portra, but I bet it would resolve even more fine detail and sharpness. The AF, of course, is as any of those in film compacts, but it is overall snappy, as being from early 2000s, the camera is relatively new compared to those of 80s and 90s. It does, however, struggle in typical tricky situations like shooting through the glass or mirror, but the manual explicitly prompts how to shoot these kind of scenes. The camera is kind of loud in operation. The shutter and AF confirmation can be distinctively heard and even felt, even if you have gloves on, which is probably done on purpose due to the nature of conditions this camera is intended for. Other than that, it is very easy to operate, controls and labels are pretty straightforward. Having this kind of ruggedness is definitely an overkill for most, but the way this camera looks and feels is a key point of using it. It adds to experience and is fun. The unique shape and bright color won't leave this camera unnoticed as well if you're into that. It's a great camera and I'm very glad I got a chance to buy one for my collection. So even though it doesn't have relevant date imprinting and is kind of hard to find, it's nothing compared to the joy of using and inspiration you're getting with this camera. It's surely worth the money I spent on it, and honestly, I have no idea why it is not as popular. I think it deserves more attention. The rare orange and green colors are more expensive, but the blue versions, especially earlier models, are a steal for what they are selling now. And if you're worried about the reliability, I'm positive about this rugged Konica withstanding time much better than those fragile Ricohs and Olympuses. Plus, the later models, like mine, are newer than the popular film point-and-shoots out there. If you're like me and prefer a 28mm lens, Konica Genbaken Toko is almost a decade newer than Minolta TC1, Nikon 28 Ti or that same Ricoh GR1. Not to mention the price that's times more affordable. Now that I've tried it around swimming pools, I can't wait to try it out in the mountains or deserts as well. I wish I had it with me during my Silk Road trip. But until the next outing, Konica Genbaken Toko will be a great addition to my collection, and chances are it won't be sold off in the near future. Try it for yourself as well. I promise it will deliver decent results and great experience, especially if you're into active outdoor leisure. This is it for this time, but before we finish, let me take a minute to thank today's sponsor, ExpressVPN. I've been using ExpressVPN for years now, and it's a no-brainer for people like me living in China, where the Great Firewall keeps me from YouTube and Pornhub. But besides that, ExpressVPN can also help those like you who don't face any internet restrictions. How? Last time I told you how you can save big time on flight tickets, which is awesome, right? Nevertheless, if you're more of a homestayer, ExpressVPN can help you save on Netflix. Yes, you heard me right. Just switching to a different country using ExpressVPN can save you quite a bit. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead to the description down below and follow the link expressvpn.com/av to get 3 extra free months of subscription to save even more. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe, check my other videos, and I'll see you in the next one.